I love trap bar deadlifts. They're safe, easy to teach, and incredibly effective for building mass, just as good as any other variation. So in today's video, I'll be discussing the full benefits while demonstrating different ways of doing the exercise, as well as providing strength standards. So, I'll first say that you should experiment with two pulling positions. The first is the high handle trap bar deadlift, and the second, as you guessed, is the low handle. So you flip it upside down. Now, depending which gym you go to, the distances can vary greatly. What I would say is that if using the Rogue trap bar, I believe those are 8-inch handles. So in that case, you're doing an extreme partial rep. So if that's all you have to work with, which is in fact a high quality bar, I would 100% lean towards using the lower handles. Otherwise, the traditional specs that most of us work with are perfectly doable. You're getting maximum 4 inches of elevation. Now here's what you gotta know. The low handles will have excellent carryover to deep pulls like deficit deadlifts and conventional deadlifts. In fact, the arm positioning itself is a little bit outside shoulder width. So it's kind of a semi-snatch grip deadlift in a sense, which further makes it difficult to get out of the bottom. However, the lower back strain isn't the same since we're trapped inside the bar. And so the moment arm will be less. In this way, we can really pack on the volume and even max out. You should feel perfectly fine the next day. But you're not eliminating the tension in the area. It's just reduced from a proportion standpoint, but that effect may be exactly what you need if your program is already brutal. So if you're doing good mornings and conventional deadlifts, why not add this to supplement the overall system? I believe you'll cut back on the overuse while still gaining amazing general strength. Like you can actually focus on the posterior chain without the spinal rectors being a limiting factor. Anyway, let's now cover the flip side, being the high handle trap bar deadlift. This is probably my favorite variation of all time. Why? It solves the anthropometry issue for the vast majority of people. Depending on your individual limb lengths, not mobility, deep pulls can in fact be problematic because there's excessive hip flexion, which in a muscle building context of getting more out of less weight, that's good, but for what it does to your recovery, might not be worth it, as well as you not putting up the highest numbers. The high handles, on the other hand, fixes that. It optimizes your leverages by making the torso be a little bit more upright, and you're reducing the range of motion ever so slightly, like a low block pull, but now you can go that much more intense. So this is where I would do low reps for multiple sets. Even when we talk about AMRAPs, which stands for as many reps as possible, still love it. So reps of 10 to 15 are absolutely brutal, but the best part is you don't feel like you're gonna snap your back, which is literally the most important thing. Yes, we can talk about stimulus to fatigue. I get it, there's more axial loading, but we can't deny the torso angle. So even though you may feel more tired in other muscles, probably the prime movers of the deadlift, the lower back itself, which is the worst feeling in the world when it's sore and like tired, that's not gonna happen as much. So to me, that trade-off is completely worth it. Plus, in my opinion, this one is a little bit better for the upper body. All right, so not everything is black and white. And just so you know, the carryover to the low handles is still there. You'll eventually get so strong at the high handles that even if you don't do any low handle work, which is not advised, you'll still be insanely strong. Just to say, the first time I pulled 700 pounds, shortly after, I got 600 in the deepest position, even though there was zero practice for it. Not an ounce of specificity unless you're counting my accessory lifts for other exercises, like the reverse hypers, cheat rows, zerchers, sumo deads. If you want to count that, fine, I understand your point. But all I'm saying is, strength is strength. And usually there will not be more than about a 100-pound difference. That's why you can literally make this a 100% replacement and still be objectively advanced, as well as having all the muscle building benefits. So I needed to throw that in because now I'll be discussing another position that few guys talk about, being the deficit. Now, how is this accomplished, you ask? Very simple. You stand on mats or plates. Max I would do for this is 2 to 4 inches, which is basically the reversal of the high handles. Now it's minus 50 to 100 pounds, which may sound insane, but until trying this, you have no idea how difficult these are. Instead of your torso being here or even there, it's completely bent forward like a Pendlay row. Awful leverages, the worst of the worst. And you will need to have titanium spinal erectors to even pull this off. So I would say late, intermediate, advanced lifters only should attempt this, because you can visit Snap City if that base strength isn't established. And so this will build tremendous leg drive and back strength, not to mention the ability to strain. You try maxing out on these or doing low repetitions in general, watch how you get fatigued quickly because you're going through such a long range of motion. This is by far the most humbling way of doing trap bar deadlifts. So it's very important that you refrain from ego lifting at all costs. Otherwise, I promise you will get injured. Know that the high risk element depends on how you approach the movement. Otherwise, there's another way of doing the exercise, which is not standing on the mats or plates, but just putting your heels on it, or simply wearing Olympic weightlifting shoes. In this way, we're not just doing this to improve our deadlift or generally increase the range of motion. We're trying to change the muscle emphasis to the quads. And so you're not really going to hinge that much either. In this way, you have to lighten the load considerably and almost treat it like a sissy squat deadlift hybrid. What you want to do is shove the knees as far forward as possible. And for this exercise, I would pretty much exclusively do higher reps. Otherwise, there could be a tendency of using your regular deadlifting form. We're doing this to build meaty quads. And because that deep knee bend could be more stressful on the ligaments. And that's why you have to progressively overload at a small rate. Anyway, enough about the benefits. Let's finish off this video by discussing quick strength standards. For my novice lifters, you'll want to build up to doing a 405 for 5 rep trap bar deadlift, which can take around 12 to 15 months to achieve. In some cases, maybe even longer. But that's the objective. By doing this, you'll get a lot of your posterior chain size and even yoke gains, since it's known to do that through the way to stretch and all the things I've talked about in my yoke playlist. So please check that out for more information. So that's the standard. It's very basic and it accommodates for the low and high handles because not every trap bar is built the same. And by recommending 5 reps instead of a 1 rep max, as commonly seen in other novice programs, this kind of scales a bit better. And so 4 plates aside for 5 reps is in fact realistic. Otherwise, if your leverages are just that good, fine, double the reps and quit complaining. So 4 or 5 for 10. But I don't think doing that is the start of being an intermediate lifter. In my opinion, you're much higher than that. So in 1 rep max terms, that would not be more than 435 to 465. That is when you're an intermediate lifter. Anything above that, all the way to 6 plates, is the next journey. And that can take a very long time, maybe years. I don't know what it's going to be like for you. This stage will last until you can hit 675, which is 7 plates aside. You're pretty much maxing out a standard trap bar at that point. Anything beyond that is going to be considered elite, and probably 1% of you watching this will get to that point. And what I've seen among the naturals I respect is a 1 rep max between 700 and 800 pounds, which is absolutely insane, but I do think it's realistic for those that have the right mindset and genetics to pull it off. Not that you have to get that in order to be big or strong in the first place. So you should probably try to get at least a 500 pound trap bar deadlift. And it's the same when we talk about conventional deadlifts. 5 plates aside for a deep, full range of motion, all out grinder. That is the goal. Train for it. See what happens to your physique over time. With that said, I'm done talking. Hope you enjoyed my analysis on the trap bar deadlift. Now I want to hear your feedback in the comment section. How much do you like this movement? Did you buy your own, or are you the only one using it at your gym? Let's hear it, and I'll talk to you all next time.